How did Clytemnestra seal Agamemnon's fate? The Odyssey explained. Warning: this video contains spoilers for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey and the ancient Greek myths that inspired it. If you haven't experienced the story yet and want to avoid spoilers, this is your warning. Now let's explain. When most people think about the heroes of the Trojan War, they immediately remember Achilles, Odysseus, or Hector. But one of the most shocking stories begins after the war has already ended. It isn't fought on a battlefield. It doesn't involve dragons or mythical monsters. Instead, it takes place inside a royal palace, where one of Greece's greatest kings finally returns home after 10 long years, only to discover that the greatest danger isn't waiting outside. It's waiting inside his own house. That king is Agamemnon, the commander of the Greek army during the Trojan War, and the woman waiting for him is his wife, Clytemnestra, one of the most fascinating and misunderstood characters in all of Greek mythology. But why would a queen turn against her own husband? What happened during the years Agamemnon was away? And why does his fate become one of the biggest lessons in Greek mythology? The answer begins long before the Trojan War. Who was Clytemnestra? Clytemnestra wasn't simply the wife of Agamemnon. She was the queen of Mycenae, a powerful ruler, a brilliant strategist, and the sister of Helen of Troy, the very woman whose abduction sparked the Trojan War. When Agamemnon left for Troy, he expected to return home as a victorious king. But while he was fighting overseas, Clytemnestra remained behind, ruling the kingdom alone for an entire decade. During those years, she wasn't simply waiting for her husband. She was carrying the weight of grief, anger, and betrayal, feelings that continued growing stronger every single year. The sacrifice that changed everything. To understand Clytemnestra's actions, we have to go back even further. Before the Greek fleet ever sailed toward Troy, the ships became trapped by calm winds. The army couldn't leave. According to the seer Calchas, the goddess Artemis demanded a terrible sacrifice. Agamemnon was told that only one offering would satisfy the goddess, his own daughter, Iphigenia. Faced with the possibility of losing the entire war before it even began, Agamemnon made a heartbreaking decision. He agreed. Different versions of the myth describe the event differently. Some say Artemis saved Iphigenia at the last moment. Others say she died. But from Clytemnestra's perspective, the damage had already been done. The man who should have protected their daughter had instead chosen war over family. That moment shattered the trust between husband and wife. Long before Troy ever fell, 10 years of anger. While Agamemnon was becoming a legendary warrior, Clytemnestra was living with unimaginable pain. Every victory he celebrated on the battlefield reminded her of what she believed he had taken from their family. Year after year, her anger continued growing. Eventually, she formed a relationship with Aegisthus, a political rival of Agamemnon. Together, they ruled Mycenae during the king's absence. By the time Agamemnon finally returned home, the kingdom he expected no longer existed. Everything had changed, including the woman waiting to welcome him. Agamemnon's return. After surviving the Trojan War, Agamemnon believed the hardest part of his journey was over. Like Odysseus, he dreamed of finally returning home. But unlike Odysseus, he never received the happy reunion he expected. He arrived in Mycenae as a victorious king, bringing with him enormous wealth, glory, and even the Trojan princess Cassandra, whom he had taken as a prize of war. For Clytemnestra, that was another insult. Not only had Agamemnon sacrificed their daughter, he also returned home with another woman, expecting everything to continue as before. He completely underestimated the pain and the resentment that had been building for 10 years. How Clytemnestra sealed Agamemnon's fate. What happened next became one of the most famous moments in Greek mythology. Instead of celebrating her husband's return, Clytemnestra carefully prepared her revenge. Different ancient writers describe the scene differently. Some say Agamemnon was trapped while bathing. Others describe an elaborate plan inside the palace. Regardless of the version, the outcome remains the same. The mighty king who had conquered Troy never escaped his own home. Ironically, the man who survived countless battles, faced legendary warriors, and commanded the greatest army in Greece, could not survive the consequences of the choices he had made years earlier. His greatest enemy wasn't waiting on a battlefield. It was waiting inside his own palace. Was Clytemnestra a villain? This is where Greek mythology becomes incredibly interesting. Unlike many stories, there isn't one simple answer. Some people see Clytemnestra as a ruthless queen driven by revenge. Others believe she was a grieving mother seeking justice for her daughter. Ancient audiences debated this question for centuries. Even today, historians, writers, and filmmakers continue interpreting her character in different ways. Was she protecting her family? Or destroying it? Was she justified? Or did she simply continue an endless cycle of violence? The answer depends on how you interpret the story. The curse of the house of Atreus. Agamemnon's downfall wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a much larger tragedy. His family belonged to the house of Atreus, one of the most cursed bloodlines in all of Greek mythology. Generation after generation, the family experienced betrayal, revenge, broken promises, and terrible violence. Every attempt to settle old conflicts only created new ones. Agamemnon inherited that curse, and after his fate, the cycle continued with his own children. The story was far from over. What happened after Agamemnon? Agamemnon's fate changed everything. His son Orestes would eventually return home. Determined to restore honor to his family, that decision led to another tragic chapter in Greek mythology, one that inspired famous Greek tragedies still performed today. In many ways, Agamemnon's story doesn't truly end with him. It becomes the beginning of another generation's struggle between justice, duty, and revenge. How this connects to the Odyssey. Although Clytemnestra isn't one of the main characters in the Odyssey, her story plays an incredibly important role. Throughout Homer's epic, Agamemnon's fate serves as a warning to Odysseus. Several characters remind Odysseus about what happened after the Trojan War. The message is clear. Returning home doesn't guarantee happiness. The greatest challenges may still lie ahead. Unlike Agamemnon, Odysseus approaches his home with caution. He doesn't immediately reveal himself. He carefully observes the situation, tests the loyalty of those around him, and plans every step before reclaiming Ithaca. In many ways, Agamemnon's tragic story teaches Odysseus exactly what not to do. Without that warning, the ending of the Odyssey might have been very different. Christopher Nolan's adaptation. Christopher Nolan's adaptation introduces a new generation of audiences to these legendary characters. While the Odyssey focuses primarily on Odysseus's journey, stories like Agamemnon's and Clytemnestra's provide important historical background. They remind us that the heroes of Troy didn't all receive happy endings. Some returned home only to discover that time, grief, and betrayal had changed everything. That's one of the reasons Greek mythology continues fascinating audiences thousands of years later. Its heroes aren't perfect, its villains aren't completely evil, and every decision carries consequences. So, how did Clytemnestra seal Agamemnon's fate? It wasn't because of one single moment. It was the result of years of grief, broken trust, pain, and revenge. Whether you view her as a tragic mother, a determined queen, or one of mythology's greatest villains, there's no denying that her story remains one of the most powerful in all of Greek mythology. And without understanding what happened to Agamemnon, it's impossible to fully appreciate the dangers awaiting Odysseus when he begins his own journey home. What do you think? Was Clytemnestra justified after everything that happened to her family? Or should revenge never replace justice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more The Odyssey Explained videos. Greek mythology breakdowns, Christopher Nolan analysis, character explanations, hidden details, and ending explained videos. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.